The Great American Outdoors with Ron Shear is brought to you by Astro Quickfire F-18, America's hottest performance boat. Mariner Outboards, they're better in the long run. DuPont Stren Fishing Lines. Remington Arms, it's what you're shooting for. And Daiwa USA. This week, the Great American Outdoors takes you to the Arctic Circle for moose and wolf tagging operations. Ron will be with members of the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Bureau of Land Management as they locate the animals by helicopter, tranquilize them, and outfit the animals with special radio collars that allow the animals to be tracked and studied, providing information about their habitat and helping us understand them better. Stay with us for another exciting Great American Outdoors.
Hi, thanks for joining me this week. We're going to be tagging moose and hopefully wolves this week on the Great American Outdoors. It's all part of a management process on the Bureau of Land Management land to help us better understand the animals, to help us take better care of them, to know the best management practices to practice. Hey, we'll be back with a great show from the great state of Alaska.
It's Roland Martin!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a delicate balance of talent, patience, and dexterity.
Magnum? It's the best in heavy cover.
Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Most of the time, big game hunting often comes down to just one shot. I want to make sure it's my best shot, so I've started using something new. Remington's extended range rifle ammunition. It's computer designed for flatter trajectories, greater velocity, and maximum energy. So how does it perform? Let me tell you, I've tested Remington extended range ammo again and again. There's no doubt what I'll be hunting with. New Remington extended range.
Successful hunters know the average hunting dog may work out up to 3 hours a day on his own. So remember to feed Purina High Pro. The all-year training diet with 28% more protein than the leading dry dog food, plus 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro, because there is no off-season for a hunting dog.
The Fishing Hotline, 1-900-370-FENS, a new service which allows you to find the best times to fish or hunt from now through the end of the year. Also updated local reports for different kinds of fish from nearby fishing holes, plus fishing and outdoor tips from pros like Orlando Wilson, Roland Martin, Tom Mann, the Bass Professor Doug Hannon, and Ron Scherer. The number is 1-900-370-FINS, and it's just 95 cents a minute. That's 1-900-370-FINS.
Okay, go ahead. I think I can close on you the amount of time it's going to take you to get set up. Is he down at Birch Creek drainage? Okay, I see the moose now. He's over about 3 o'clock below. You got to turn in him yet? No, not yet. He's just now fixing to come in on him. There's been 3 or 4 moose down in here. You must be trying to hide it in the snowbank. Well, we just need to make sure we wall it down in good and it breaks through about the same amount on both sides. You don't want it to roll over. Once it gets down to the belly, it's pretty well cradled. We're still just slightly off the belly. I can look in my mirror, but it felt fairly solid.
He's right over in here somewhere, isn't he? Here he is. Dave, what an animal.
Yeah, I wish we could move through the snow as easy as she can. Like a bull.
Big old bull.
Big old bull.
Look here, it's a good shot too. There's the dart right there.
Excellent shot. Excellent shot.
Well, I guess
Oh yeah, good day for it. Well, it looks healthy.
What all we want to do to the moose now, Dale?
Well, we're primarily interested on putting the collar on this bull. We want to find out where he goes. Quite often in Alaska we find that the moose spend most of the year in different places from where they're actually hunted. We have very little access for hunting. Some of the moose that BLM has collared in this area have ended up down in the backyards of Fairbanks, and during the hunting season they're moving back to this area from the area where people live, and quite a bit of the moose are harvested by hunters, and we would like to find out more about that, where the moose are going.
What is the range, Winston, of those moose in this area? Do you know?
Yeah, it's pretty much like Dale was saying there. We found that on some of these moose that we've collared that they can range up to 100 miles between summer and winter range, and that was part of what was going on. And we found out this information from this radio collar is that censuses were done in the fall right after hunting season, and the moose that were counted in those censuses were actually hunted up to 60, 80 miles away on their way back from wherever their summer range was.
Now, what was the percentage, though, of all the moose that are taken? What percentage of them are taken by hunters? I think, didn't Jim have some of those figures?
Well, it could be up to 10% if it's similar to caribou, but you'll have to ask Dale about that.
Well, it can be up to 10%, but typically around in interior Alaska we're harvesting more like 3, 4, 5%.
With the hunters?
By hunters, yeah.
And, you know, the thing that we're doing this week is we're going to obviously radio collar a moose and try to radio collar a wolf if we can find one, wouldn't it, Dave? To see if we can get exactly predication is the main thing. The wolves take out mostly the moose and the caribou calves is the main predator. While y'all get started, go ahead, Winston.
Well, I was going to say, in the process here, looking for these moose and doing the darting that we're doing right now, it's not going to take us too long. We're going to find a wolf kill.
All right.
We're going to find a moose that the wolves have brought down here in the last day or two, and there should be some wolves on it, so we got a good opportunity to get a wolf or two in the process.
All right, Dave, step up here with me and let's talk about this dart while they get started.
This little guy looks pretty healthy here. Pretty good shape.
It's much like the dart was using the caribou. It goes in a gun that shoots it. It has a charge in it. When it hits, it injects on into the animal. It absolutely, all it does is a sedation drug, you know, an immobilization drug and a sedation drug where we can work with the animal. It'll be given an antidote and the animal will be perfectly fine. And I know you want to do something with this, Winston, other than have me stand around and hold it this close to you.
Yeah, I don't want to get stuck. I had plenty of sleep last night. I don't need any more.
That back in the tackle box.
One thing that I find most interesting on this, Winston, is there's absolutely no way to get to those animals and get the radio collars on without the, you know, the helicopters and the dart guns, and the way you do it right now is the only way, obviously, to get it done at all, isn't it?
True.
Yeah, with the remoteness of these animals and some of the habitat they're in, I mean, we're probably about 20 miles from the nearest road here. It's darn near impossible to get in here and dart these things any other way.
Now, Dale, you can age them by their teeth like caribou, pretty much, right?
Just generally, we tell whether they're real young or real old by the wear on the teeth. This isn't obviously an adult moose by the size, and it has all its adult teeth, but you notice that they're very sharp yet, so it isn't very old.
How old do you think this moose?
Oh,
4 or 5?
4 or 5 probably. By the time, like on they said for the caribou, by the time they're getting to be 10 years old, you have these teeth worn down quite far.
How long does a moose generally live? Do we know that yet? In this area?
Well, pretty much the same everywhere here in the interior. It's just like caribou. After they get about 10 years old, they start dying at a pretty high rate. They're more susceptible to predation. 4, 5, 6-year-old moose survive very well.
This is a prime moose. He's in his prime right now.
Yeah, it's not that they're immune to predation, but they're just the age class that's not preyed on very much. The real young, and then the ones that are a little bit older than this.
This is probably the king of the woods, more than likely, in this valley right here. Are those, you know, the rest, we saw some cows running here with him, did we not?
Yes, we did.
Dave, I know a lot of this tagging that we're involved in while we're in Alaska this time is on the BLM land through your office here in Alaska, but there's many, many programs that take place on the BLM land other than just the tagging as far as wildlife management. You want to explain some more of those to us?
Sure, Ron. BLM is a multiple use agency. That means on a lot of the lands that we take care of here, wildlife is very important, and that's a part of what we're involved in here today to get some information. Other activities that take place include recreation. In some areas of BLM where it's appropriate, we've got mining claims where the placer miners work in Alaska. We've got other activities out here where we work with natives. We're transferring land to native Alaskans up here. We provide some easement marking across some of that. We provide some management and oversight for the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, and we have geologists that work in the North Slope and around the state and oil and gas leasing and some of those sorts of programs. So it's a tremendous mix of resources that are found on public lands, and it's just a variety. We try to cover the gamut from A to Z on it. And
trying to make them all to work together.
Work together, where we make sure that what we're doing in one spot that the needs of wildlife are taken care of, taken into account before you allow other activities that might harm them.
There's the BLM land in Alaska. It is open for hunting and fishing?
Absolutely, you bet.
All public lands. I mean, all you need is just a regular license to come up here.
You make sure you get your proper license so that you're legal to do it. But yeah, you bet. Now you go out and find an acre of BLM land if you want to go hunt some caribou or a beautiful moose like this here, or some ptarmigan or grizzly bear, whatever. You come on up and do it. It's open for hunting.
Well, he's breathing a lot better now, and he's about to get up. Obviously, we had to get away from him because when an animal that's that big decides to take off, he's going to go. He's up and he's out of here. Okay, I'm wearing a new collar.
Well, he's up and out of here. Let's go see if we can't find one of those wolves.
That'll be fun. Let's try it. What a ride!
Take off with an Astro.
It's Orlando Wilson!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a gentleman's sport, where a keen eye and a learned hand can capture the most prized possession.
Magnet then?
Smoothest casting line there is, Bubba.
Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, there's a box!
At the Mariner test facilities, we run our outboards day and night for weeks at a time, right up to the breaking point.
How's the endurance test going? Seems to be running pretty strong!
At Mariner, we don't just test our outboards, we test the limits. For the Mariner dealer near you, call 1-800-526-6645.
Tournament-tested technology makes every Daiwa rod and reel a winner. Daiwa.
Looks out of view, Dave. Looks out of view. That's something. Those are wolf tracks we see down there, are they not? I think so. I think them wolves get traveling on the ridge lines. They're moving drainage.
How much does this animal weigh, do you know?
I would guess this animal weighs about 90 pounds.
How old? Do you age them by the teeth
Yeah,
too?
you age them by the teeth, and this one is, the teeth are white and pretty sharp. There's a little bit of staining on the teeth. I would guess it's a young adult, and it's a female.
Looks like she's about 2 years old, maybe 3.
Well, obviously we saw where we had a fresh kill right here
Just over the hill here.
from the caribou. The wolves are the main predators of the moose herd and the caribou herd. And I know, Winston, one thing you were telling me you were studying was whether or not the animals could survive the wolves if you try to keep it in balance. You know, it's a helicopter close. It's kind of a misconception that nature will balance itself out. Sometimes that's not all true, is it?
No, that's not always true. There's a lot going on. We have natural predators, we have human predators, there's several environmental factors that happen, and really a biologist's job is taking the proper balance of all those factors.
Well, a lot of people would like to believe, and a lot of people that watch the Great American Outdoors, Pat, have a misconception that why don't we just leave the animals alone and let them take care of themselves? Folks, that's not possible anymore. You know, as humans, we live on this planet. We have domain over the animals. And, you know, by our existence, us just being here, we are eating up more and more of the land. Not only the Alaskan pipeline that came through here several years ago, but just, you know, as the population grows, we take more of the habitat that has naturally belonged to the animals. 200 years ago, I'm sure the wolves, the caribou, and nature could balance all of it out. Because of our intervention, which is a necessary intervention, it cannot be helped. It's up to us to manage and take care of them. You were telling me, Pat, that the big thing that you're trying to do with the wolves was see if perhaps a wolf season would be in order or not to build up the caribou herd. That the numbers, tell me that again, the numbers you were talking about.
Yeah, that's the 40-mile caribou herd reached a low level in the early 1970s, and we're trying to build the herd back into a major herd that it was prior to that time. Wolves are the major predator of caribou. They take about 25% of the calves and about 10% of the adults each year. And in some years, the caribou population cannot grow with the level of wolf and bear predation that it has. And in some cases, we temporarily reduce wolf populations to allow the caribou to increase to higher levels, and within a year or two, the wolf population is back up to normal levels again.
Well, it's been said before, and I've read it several times, that a pack of wolves is probably nature's most proficient killing machine.
Yeah.
You know, when they get on the trail, you could see the herd of caribou that was on this ridge, and you see the tracks where the wolves were tracking the caribou. And, you know, in wide open country, you wouldn't think, you know, that a wolf with short legs could outrun a caribou with long legs. You know, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, but they certainly can. Well, let's go on and doctor this boy up, and we're going to put a radio collar on him, Winston?
That's right. Turn him loose. I got one more thing to add here, too.
Okay.
One reason that we're working on these animals and putting the collars on the wolves is to find their critical habitat areas, their dens, the areas they hunt in, and find out how many packs we have and how they interact with each other. Although this country here looks very desolate, there has been a lot of mineral exploration going on in the last few years. And part of the reason that we're gathering this information is that so that we can properly manage that exploration to make it compatible with wildlife and wildlife management.
Well, Dave, we have several joint agencies involved on this, and when you called me to, you know, asked if I'd want to participate in this, of course I was excited, and you know, and there was a lot of just millions of miles of logistics to get it right, but you have the Fish and Game, the Bureau of Land Management, anyone else?
I think most agencies and a lot of the biological work cooperate generally pretty well together. The information that comes from any particular project is going to be certainly of interest to biologists of another agency, whether it's the Park Service or U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and certainly for Alaska Fish and Game and BLM, and others that are responsible for taking care of a lot of this great country and for the animal resources here.
Winston, once the collar is put on, you use an airplane. You just tell me about how you track them.
Okay, what we use, Ron, is we primarily use a Piper Super Cub for the tracking. We mount one antenna on each wing strut. We go out, we fly around, we pick up the radio signal from the animal, then we switch back and forth between the antennas and pick up the discrepancy in signal strength between the two, which gives us a direction basically.
And you can track right to the animal.
Yeah, these callers, especially in this open country here, can be heard up to 30 miles away. Depends on the altitude.
And the collars are good for a minimum of 5 years?
Yeah, it depends on the size of the collar and the strength of the batteries in it, but in a lot of cases they last up to 5 years.
There you go. How long will it take it now to take effect?
I would guess it would take about 5 minutes.
Beautiful animal.
Pat, you were making an interesting comment there today. I want to be sure to tell our viewers about the drugs that's being used.
Yeah, Ron, these drugs were developed over a period of years for different kinds of purposes. One of the purposes was heart surgery. And although the drug we use on caribou and we used on the wolf today is not exactly the same as the one that's used in heart surgery, it's a relative. And one of the things that doctors discovered was people who were having heart surgery done were vaguely aware of what was being done on them. They'd come out of the operation aware and remembering that they were being worked on and cut open, and so they developed some additional tranquilizers to use in conjunction with these drugs, and that's what we do on the wolves as well. The tranquilizer calms the animal down and deadens the awareness, and the immobilizer puts the animal down and immobilizes it quickly so that we can get to it fast.
Hurry! Hey, it's Bill Dance. Oh, you want some flossy fishing line? Keeps fish teeth strong and healthy, and some real fin. Keeps bass fit and trim.
5 spools of Strin Super Tough, please.
Super Tough?
Yep, going for a trophy. I know you.
Strin fishing lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, Matsay! What about it? What about Matsay?
Tournament-tested technology makes every Daiwa rod and reel a winner. Daiwa.
When anti-hunters plant poison dog food in your favorite hunting spot,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
when they spike your access roads,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
and when they ban your hunting guns, you'll say, where was the NRA?
Join the NRA now to protect your hunting heritage and defeat the anti-hunting agenda.
When they close the seasons in your hunting lands,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
Help protect the hunter's heritage of wildlife conservation. Join the NRA.
Call now and get a year of great magazines, a no-fee Visa card, a Hunter Orange NRA cap, special insurance benefits, plus access to world-class hunter safety and skills training.
You see, when hunting is gone forever, your son won't ask, where was the NRA? He'll ask, where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
So come on, join the NRA now.
Hi, folks, this is Ron Shear. Wouldn't it be great to just pick up the phone and instantly know the best time and place to fish? Hey, it's not a dream. It's the Keystone Beer Fishing Hotline. Call them, 1-900-407-FISH. Find out today. As you can see, the wolf's okay. The information gathered from this wolf darting program will be used for many years to come. And unlike our ancestors that didn't have all the conveniences to do it, such as the helicopters and the drugs and everything we're using, this information will become real information. By that I mean it will be able to be used to correctly manage everything. You know, all the agencies working together, the sportsman's helping paying for it. A great project. Remember, we'll see you next week right here on the Great American Outdoors. We like to do them like you like to watch them. We'll see you then. Take care. We got to get back in this helicopter. Those boys can fly, but they don't land on slopes. They just kind of pull in and slow down and you get on. We'll see you next week.
Welcome to the Great American Outdoors. With your host, Ron Shear. The Great American Outdoors is brought to you by Ranger Boats, Ranger Trailers, DuPont Power Lines, Remington Arms, and Oneida Eagle Bows. This week, the Great American Outdoors comes to you from the state of Montana. On today's show, we'll learn the value of hunters and fishermen and learn what our government agencies are doing to preserve the rights which we enjoy. In a message to the National Conservation Commission in 1909, President Theodore Roosevelt perhaps said it best, and I quote, "The function of our government is to ensure to all its citizens, now and hereafter, the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we of this generation destroy the resources from which our children would otherwise derive their livelihood, we reduce the capacity of our land to support a population." End of quote. As a result of actions from concerned government officials, the Department of Interior Bureau of Land Management was formed. Today, we'll meet the director of the BLM, Cy Jameson. Mike Dombeck, Special Assistant to BLM. Francis Pandolfi, CEO, Times Mirror Magazines. David Rockland, Executive Director, Times Mirror Conservation Council. Neil Oldridge, Director of Sales, DuPont Sporting Goods.
I think Norm said it best of all in the Woods family and all those here, is that their son wanted to keep this open so people could get in and out. Is that a fair statement? I'd let you say that again.
Well, that was our hope, that it would be available for future generations to enjoy as the past generations have. There's approximately 4.5 miles of river frontage on the Missouri and Marais rivers, and about 1,500 acres of land.
Yep.
And so it gives a ideal spot, and with access less than a quarter mile off of US 87, which is unusual to find a almost isolated area that close to a major highway.
Yep.
It is.
Yep. Thank you. You're good Americans.
Thanks for joining us this week. Have you ever thought how important you were being a hunter or a fisherman or a bird watcher? Hey, stick with us this week on the Great American Outdoors, because we're going to show you some interesting facts that most people don't realize and hadn't thought about. It's a very, very interesting show. We'll be right back.
Out here, you won't see the leather chairs of a corporate boardroom. But when these guys take a meeting, the agenda is clear: to probe, test, and even torture every part of a Ranger boat. Day in, day out, taking on the demanding challenges of the marine environment, and more important, listening to what it tells us. Because at Ranger, we're committed to making the most of our time, so you can relax and make the most of yours.
Never before has there been a fishing line for bait casters like the new Magnum 720 and 1440 oval-shaped lines from DuPont. Magnum 720 casts like a 7-pound, but is really a 20-pound line. And Magnum 1440 has 14-pound flexibility with 40-pound strength. Tough enough to bring big fish out of the heaviest structure. The super strong Magnum lines for bait casters only. Only from DuPont.
How important is the hunter and the fisherman to the state of Montana?
Ron, the hunter and fisherman is extremely important. I would guess, and Kay Cool could back me up,
Probably 80% of Montanans are involved in hunting or fishing. We're very proud of it. But we want to look after it. We want it to grow. Still, a lot of people in America don't understand that a state like Montana has increased its game in great abundance because of good management. Whenever they think of hunting and harvesting animals, they think we're depleting a diminishing resource. We're not. We're building it. Well, you gentlemen know that. I don't have to convince you of that. But we have to convince others who perhaps don't understand the benefits of sport hunting of that, because there's a growing movement, as you know, in this country that is not as supportive as we'd like them to be, not as well educated as to what hunting and fishing offers.
To start with, tell us what the BLM is all about. What is the BLM? How did it get started?
Thank you, Ron. Bureau of Land Management is basically the agency that manages the lands that nobody else wanted. In other words, we manage the public domain that was left over after the homesteaders took their homesteads. They made the national parks, they made the forests, and they made the fish and wildlife refuges. We manage about 1/8 of the federal domain that's left. That is about approximately 270 million acres.
Gosh, that's a lot of land, and this, you make it sound like nobody wanted it. We're talking about several years ago when the government needed to step in to take care of it, right?
That's correct, but a lot of times it was in the West. It's mainly in the 13 western states. A lot of it's an arid country, and usually rainfall between 16 or less inches of rain a year. But it has a lot of values. In the past, we're known as the agency that's really tied to the mining community, the cattlemen's community, oil and gas, and that type. What I've tried to do in the Bush administration too is kind of broaden multiple use out a little bit and add a bunch of other factors in, like recreation and wildlife, riparian values, cultural resources, and the like that. Right here today, as you saw in this purchase, we are combining a few of those, recreation and fish and wildlife resources.
Well, it was brought to my attention at the dedication that this acquisition was started at the ground level. I want to make it perfectly clear to our viewers that it was not the government coming in saying, we want that land. Is that correct?
Oh, that's absolutely. I'm a redneck from the West, and I don't like to see the heavy hand of the federal government come into play. We usually try to have these things start from the ground up. We had a very cooperative community and family involved in this, and the family said it very well. They said that they wanted this area to be available for access and the wildlife values and recreation values for future generations, and I think that says it all.
Well, I think the key in this whole show and the key to the BLM's movement now is the multiple use.
That's right.
You know, access, and this is a watchable wildlife area, but it is planned to have hunting and fishing in the future years. Is that correct?
Oh, that's absolutely right. We have a really dynamic fish and wildlife program, and I think I'd like to have Mike Dombeck, who is kind of the wildlife advocate on our staff in Washington, D.C., and Mike, if you'd like to highlight a few of those things.
We've got a program we call Fish and Wildlife 2000 that's designed to lead us into the next century and get the fish and wildlife program on the 270 million acres of BLM ratcheted up. And what it really does is it's designed to give the program a clearer focus, bring a more business-like approach to what we're doing, and articulate to BLM employees and the public what we're all about. BLM just has tremendous fish and wildlife resources. For example, we've got about 155,000 miles of fishable streams, almost 4 million acres of lakes, 3,000 species of animals, threatened and endangered species, a whole cadre of animals and plants that we manage. And when we talk about commodity and amenity values, it's interesting to know that what a big business fishing is. You know, Neil's in part of this business, and what I think, Neil, we've got something like about a $28 billion industry that provides about 750,000 jobs. And that's a lot of money generated.
Very important industry. The thing that's exciting to me, Ron, about the acquisition we just saw, we're sitting on the breaks of the Missouri River. And as we look down on this wood acquisition, there's about 4.5 miles of river frontage on the Missouri River that have been acquired. A few minutes ago, we heard some shots going on. Deer season and antelope season are on right now here in Missouri. And some hunter is out there stalking his game. We've seen geese and ducks from up here. And if you look down across the valley and see that little wooded spot, Ron thinks there's only 9 deer in there. I think there's 11. But it's obvious that there's tremendous big game potential here. Coming in this morning, we saw one group of 21 wild turkeys.
Right.
There are pheasants, there are sharp-tailed grouse, there's Hungarian and chucker partridge all over this country. And the availability of this through the Bureau of Land Management and the Wood family adds about 2,000 acres to this particular block that's available to us for wildlife watching, for hunting, for fishing, for camping, canoeing, all of the access to the public lands that we haven't had until this acquisition was made.
Well, when you talk about, Mike, you said $28 billion. Is that the figure that you used?
That's right, and that's the recreational fishing industry.
That's fishing only, Ron. That doesn't include the hunting industry, which would probably add another 20 billion to that.
That's how important. You know, when at the start of the show, I was talking about how important we had became as hunters and fishermen. You know, those are numbers that carry clout in Washington, do they not?
That's absolutely true.
And we're blessed right now, in particular, that we have a president and administration that's in. Obviously, George Bush enjoys hunting and fishing, and you know, you see repercussions of his beliefs being carried out down through the agencies, and people like Si and Mike and the companies such as DuPont becoming involved, and it's a great opportunity for all of us as sportsmen to be becoming involved. A little later on in the show, we'll be talking to Francis Pandolfi from Times Mirror Corporation. They have a conservation council, and I know we're going to meet them down on the river itself. And what are we going to do on the river today, Si?
We're going to float down into an area on the Missouri River. It's called the Missouri River. It's a wild and scenic river. And what it is that area is just like it was when Lewis and Clark came up here in 1805. And you will see very little change. We're going to go into probably the most spectacular, what's called the White Rocks area. And I think it behooves us. You can just see the beginning here. The Missouri is not a whitewater river, but I floated the Missouri, I think, 154 miles each trip in a canoe on about 10 different occasions. So you could actually put in right here and float for 150, about maybe a few more miles than that, down to what we call Fred Robinson Bridge. And that's a good family-oriented things. You can depends on the season. You can hunt and fish. You can do all kinds of recreation on the way up and down, and I just think we've got a marvelous resource here as an example for what I'd like the BLM to be known for in the future.
Well, I don't think there's any question that it will be, particularly after this show. I know Neil contacted me about this show through the DuPont, because DuPont is one of our major sponsors, but for people watching this show right now that are in a major city, you know, if they, you know, go on any major city and look around and they see all the houses, as you look across this country, right where we're standing, this acquisition in particular, this is open to the public because of what Cy Jamison and the BLM have done. You know, and this is a positive step toward conservation. And that's what we're all striving to do. As I've said on several shows, you know, the hunters and fishermen, we have several rules that we bring on ourselves for buying license, where the money's used to restock the fish and to manage the fish. And all of a sudden, more people, and especially in Washington and the larger corporations, have realized that we are talking about manageable resources, and it needs to be looked at immediately. Mike's program, such as the 2000 program, is long-range plans, which will be here before you can hardly turn around. You know, the year 2000 is not that far off. Neil, we were talking a while back about the fisheries, the restocking programs and everything going, and certainly your interest from the Strand Division and your interest from the Remington Arms Division.
You know, the most heartening thing to me, I think, Ron, is that for years a lot of us have bashed around Washington trying to get something going, and we truly have now, with selected federal agencies headed by Cy and the BLM, we truly now have a partnership relationship between the media, you mentioned the Times Mirror folks that are here, manufacturers such as DuPont and Remington. We have federal agencies involved now, and all of us are working very hard to make sure that the public lands that are available provide a quality hunting and fishing and outdoor experience for you, the public. We're the people that own these lands. If we can't get to them, or they're not worth going to, we got a problem. But thanks to this partnership relationship, we have something very worthwhile.
Well, the key, the whole time, Si, you have something else there?
I'd just like to add that the partnership is a lot more than just the federal government. We got very active local communities out in the West. We have a good, proactive state government here in Montana. And I just think that if the word I underline is two. It's partnerships and an underlying balance. And when we balance out, we have to balance out our wildlife resources, recreation resources, versus our commodity interests. And I think right here we can do all of that on one piece of ground, and it's called multiple use. And that's what I think we need to showcase. And if the American public understands that this resource is for everybody, it's really a step in the right direction.
We owe it to our children to preserve this for the future generations.
Reliable, top value, great to shoot. Words often heard from proud owners of Remington shotguns. Now you can easily upgrade most Remington shotguns for many new uses. You can choose new barrels in a variety of lengths and styles. And with the added versatility of screw-in rem chokes, you have a complete system for lead and steel. Explore these great upgrade options with your nearby Remington dealer. Remington, American reliability, versatility, and value.
For the location of your closest Oneida Eagle dealer, call the number on the screen now. Oneida Eagle.
Well, as we came down, we were able to catch up with Francis and Dave on the river. And I knew you'd be fishing, Francis. I just knew you were. Why are you not fishing?
Well, no, not today. Look at this countryside. This is gorgeous. And David and I have just been walking around and enjoying this, especially the hole in the wall up here.
Well, the hole in the wall and, you know, all the surrounding parts that we have right here is over 50 million years old. Is that unbelievable?
It's older than you and me.
It just about is. But it's not a whole lot older than Times Mirror magazine, and that's what we want to talk about in this segment part of the show, because I know you're making a great contribution to the conservation and protection of the wildlife and lands and more access. Tell us a little bit about Times Mirror magazine. What does that consist of and what you're doing?
Well, we, as you probably have heard, we reach more people actively involved in the outdoors than any other magazine company's ever reached. And we have,
now, through what magazines are we talking about?
We publish Field and Stream and Outdoor Life and Saltwater Sportsman and so on. And it's been our thought that, you know, over the years we've really prospered from serving these markets, and what we want to do now is put something back and try to get our readers, because we reach so many people who care. If we can get those people to understand some of the problems and opportunities in the outdoors, we'll get them to spread the word. They'll be apostles, in effect.
Well, I know that you have made some major changes in just the magazines that you mentioned in the past couple of years, because I've read your magazines for several years myself and enjoy them, and I see more hard-driving information. Now, this was your ideal. I know you're a very modest person, don't want to talk about it, but you're being the head CEO. It was your ideal to start this program, is that not correct?
Yeah, because as I say, I think it's important for us to put something back, and so what we did is we started a conservation council last year in February, and David Rockland here has been running that operation for us. And his job is really just to deal with Washington and the government agencies and on the Hill and so on to try to make some of these important things happen relative to the outdoors.
What all are y'all working on right now, Dave?
I guess our overall objective is every month we reach 30 million people, and a lot of those people are in fact your viewers. What we want to be able to do is to harness the political influence those people have and get them to address issues in Washington and motivate their elected officials in Washington to more positively impact the conservation of natural resources. One of the first things we've done as we've got our conservation program off the ground was to sign partnership agreements with the 4 major land management agencies, with Mike Dombeck and Cy Jamieson at BLM, but also the National Park Service, the Forest Service, and the Fish and Wildlife Service. Next week, Neil and I are going to be signing a partnership agreement between Times Mirror Magazine's Conservation Council and the American Fishing Tackle Manufacturers Association, because nothing gets done in Washington by yourself. You do things as a partnership, as a coalition.
Well, that's much like the BLM's programs right now for their multiple use, multiple facet. You know, reach everyone, everybody that enjoys the outdoors. We're not just talking about hunting and fishing here, are we, Francis?
No.
We're talking about the whole outdoors.
Not at all. In fact, that word you just used, multiple use, I think is at the heart of it. You know, we believe that the recreational, the hunter and the fisherman and so on can coexist with industrial development, and we can preserve endangered species. So our goal is to go across all of that, and we had a lot of help from BLM. Cy Jamieson and Mike Dombeck got us started. In fact, they arranged for us to meet with the president a few months ago, and President Bush is very supportive of what's going on here, and I think we want to draw on that because he's a good, active outdoor president, and we want to take advantage of that to see that some of the goals that we have are realized.
Well, go ahead, Mike.
Let me give you a quick idea of how our program works. And you mentioned, Francis, President Bush. President Bush, in the meeting with Francis, agreed to write a brief statement for our magazines, and that came out in the October issue of all our magazines, reaching 30 million people, about the importance of wetlands. When the settlers came to this country, there were about 200 million acres of wetlands, and it's a critical part of the natural ecosystem. It's where the water is, it's where the habitat is. and now we have about 95 million acres left. President Bush wants to stop that loss of wetlands, the no net loss of wetlands pledge. We had a statement from him in the magazines. We also had an editorial from our program about the Farm Bill, about protecting wetlands on farmlands. At the same time that came out, the Senate and the House were dealing with the Farm Bill, and as a consequence of input from our readers, some of your viewers, as well as the editorial itself and the statement from the President, the Farm Bill now has a much stronger mechanism to conserve wetlands.
Explain this in layman terms, Neil, what this means to the average hunter and fisherman and the person that likes and enjoys the outdoors.
Well, you know, Ron, one of the best examples of that is what we call the Sport Fish Restoration Act that was passed in 1984, where each of your viewers, every time they buy a piece of fishing tackle or if they buy any hunting or ammunition equipment, they pay a federal excise tax. It's 11% on hunting equipment and 10% on fishing equipment. All of that goes into trust funds that are put together to provide access, to provide lands, to support state fish and wildlife agencies. And what that means to us in our terms is better resource management. It means better availability to better habitat, and the result of that is if you're a fisherman, it's better fishing. If you're a hunter, it's better hunting. If you're a bird watcher, or you're just someone who likes to come into a magnificent canyon of 50 million years in age like this
Absolutely.
and sit here and contemplate, it's more available and it's a more quality experience.
Francis, on behalf of Times Mirror, how would you sum it up in putting it to the average hunter and fisherman and average outdoors person?
Well, that's a good question. And I think the answer is action. You know, your viewers and our readers can do something about some of the problems in the outdoors, and that's what they should do. And it goes beyond writing to your congressman. It involves getting engaged with organizations and so on to come out here and be sure that the land is used well, because it's two-part. It's not just access, but it's use. And if all of your viewers and our readers are responsible in their use, we're going to be able to open up more land, and we're going to be able to have more opportunities to enjoy the land.
We're going to show you a few scenes down this magnificent river. Remember, all this is over 50 million years old. The high cliffs that you see, which are approximately 200 to 300 feet above the water level right now, were actually an ocean.
Out here, you won't see the leather chairs of a corporate boardroom. But when these guys take a meeting, the agenda is clear: to probe, test, and even torture every part of a Ranger boat. Day in, day out, taking on the demanding challenges of the marine environment, and more important, listening to what it tells us. Because at Ranger, we're committed to making the most of our time, so you can relax and make the most of yours.
Never before has there been a fishing line for bait casters like the new Magnum 720 and 1440 oval-shaped lines from DuPont. Magnum 720 casts like a 7-pound, but is really a 20-pound line. And Magnum 1440 has 14-pound flexibility with 40-pound strength. Tough enough to bring big fish out of the heaviest structure. The super strong Magnum lines for bait casters only. Only from DuPont.
Hey, be responsible, act responsible, and do it in a good way, and we'll have many, many years of hunting and fishing and outdoor activities for everyone to enjoy, not only ourselves, but our kids in 20 years. Hey, be sure and catch us next week on the Great American Outdoors right here at the same time, the same place. Remember, we like to do them like you like to watch them. Be sure to take care. We'll catch you next week. So long.
The Great American Outdoors with Ron Shear is brought to you by Astro Quickfire F-18, America's hottest performance boat. Mariner Outboards, they're better in the long run. DuPont Stren Fishing Lines. Remington Arms, it's what you're shooting for. And Daiwa USA. This week, the Great American Outdoors takes you to the Arctic Circle for an unusual adventure. Ron and a team of biologists from the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are rounding up and tagging caribou with special colors. The collars contain radio transmitters that help the biologists track the caribou herds and determine the distribution and the areas used by the caribou during the year. Then the biologist can use the information to promote the growth of the herd. Ron and the team will be flying in Bell Jet Ranger helicopters to locate the caribou while offering spectacular aerial views of the White Mountain Range. This is sure to be an exciting episode in the Great White North, so stay with us.
Hi, thanks for joining us this week. You know, in the Great American Outdoors, we do hunting shows, and we teach education about hunting. And this week, our show concerns hunting. It's darting caribou. It's animal management. It shows, most importantly, that all the money to manage the animals come from hunters. Hunting and fishing license money, excise tax on the things we use to hunt and fish, pays for the whole program to manage the animals and the wildlife that everyone enjoys. Joining us this week, along with a host of all other people, is Mike Dombeck from the Bureau of Land Management in Washington, D.C., and we have got absolutely a fabulous show from the great state of Alaska. We'll be right back. Most of the time, big game hunting often comes down to just one shot. I want to make sure it's my best shot, so I've started using something new. Remington's extended range rifle ammunition. It's computer designed for flatter trajectories, greater velocity, and maximum energy. So how does it perform? Let me tell you, I've tested Remington extended range ammo again and again. There's no doubt what I'll be hunting with. New Remington extended range.
No dog can hunt hard unless he's been trained hard. Your dog can burn up to 2,000 calories a day when you're training him, so don't feed him cheap dog food. Feed him the one that's got a whopping 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro. For birds, not excuses.
The Fishing Hotline, 1-900-370-FENS, a new service which allows you to find the best times to fish or hunt from now through the end of the year. Also updated local reports for different kinds of fish from nearby fishing holes, plus fishing and outdoor tips from pros like Orlando Wilson, Roland Martin, Tom Mann, the Bass Professor Doug Hannon, and Ron Scherer. The number is 1-900-370-FINS, and it's just 95 cents a minute. That's 1-900-370-FINS.
It's Roland Martin!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a delicate balance of talent, patience, and dexterity.
Magnum? It's the best in heavy cover.
Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Mike, you're with the Bureau of Land Management. We're old friends, we've hunted together, and now we're out here working on this project. What is BLM's involvement on this project?
Well, Ron, you know, BLM manages about 93 million acres of land here in Alaska, the largest federal land manager, and we manage the habitat for the caribou. And what you see here is the Steese National Conservation Area. It's mandated by Congress that we manage this for caribou. We're working with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game on a cooperative effort to find out how many caribou we have here, what their range is, what their calving rates are, and do what we can to provide the best management for these caribou here. We know how many can be hunted by the hunters, learn the predation rates, and all those technical things that the biologists know that just kind of puzzle all of us.
Well, it's quite a complicated process. Today we're going to be using 2 helicopters and 2 fixed-wing aircraft to find animals And the key is to get the animals located, get them darted without exciting the animals very much, because we don't want to work them up and get too excited. It's extremely cold. It's in the wintertime here in Alaska, and the temperature last night was 30 below zero. You know, I hear the helicopter warming up in the background, one of them, and they say it's very hard to hit those animals with a dart gun hanging out of the helicopter. We're going to let the guys that do it, the pros, we're going to let them do it a while, and then they said I might get to try to shoot one. That's going to be a trip, isn't it?
While Ron and Mike make their way to the helicopter, let's take a look at where they're staying.
Located 137 miles northeast of Fairbanks, Alaska, and just minutes from the Arctic Circle, the Circle Hot Springs Resort served as the base camp for the animal tagging operations. The hotel was built in 1930 by Frank and Emma Leach, who originally homesteaded the land before building a hotel and resort at the mouth of a natural mineral hot spring. Much of the material used to build Circle Hot Springs had to come down the Yukon to Circle City and then overland 60 miles by wagon train to reach the present location. Over the years, the hotel has undergone many changes, with the addition of more rental cabins and updating the pool several times. Currently, an Olympic-sized swimming pool is fed by the natural hot spring at a rate of over 200 gallons per minute and naturally changes the water inside the pool about every 18 hours. This 100-degree water provides an excellent way to relax for both the guests and residents of the area. The resort has been decorated in the style of the 1930s and varies in accommodations from a first-floor luxury suite to upper-floor hostels for travelers on a budget. Guests also have the opportunity to stay in authentic Alaskan frontier cabins, which are over 60 years old, but have been modernized inside to provide a comfortable living environment. Heat for both the hotel and cabins is provided by the mineral hot spring. This is done by running the 139-degree water through a series of pipes and radiators in the floors and walls of the building. Walking through the hotel, you will discover antique photographs as well as artifacts of early 19th century Alaska. A photograph on the wall of the original hot spring is surrounded by several others, depicting the construction of the hotel and the old general store. The hot spring and warm atmosphere of Circle Hot Springs Resort is definitely a welcome sight to Ron and the crew who return each night after tracking their game. Now let's see what Ron and the tagging crew are doing in the Arctic Circle.
Okay, go ahead. I think I can close on you. The amount of time it's going to take you to get set up. You haven't done anything yet? No, not yet. He's just now fixing to come in on it. Just have to pull some snow out before we sit down here.
Tell you what, Ron. Let's get out here and let's see if you can hit one of these.
I've been looking forward to that. I know it's not as easy as it looks.
We got to have a little bit of luck.
Well, I'm pretty lucky, you know. Let me help you get that.
Okay.
Winston, now this obviously is a female because we've already checked her, but she has horns.
Yeah.
But all the bulls have lost their horns and now starting regrowth of new horns. Explain that to us.
Well, caribou are unique in that the females have antlers, number one, and number two, the pregnant females retain their antlers right up to the time that they calve. And the non-pregnant females lose their antlers about 3 weeks before that.
What month do they generally calve?
In May, late May, yeah.
And something, you know, a very interesting point with herd animals like this, the females would generally all calve within a 48-hour period.
Yeah,
and that's because of the predator situation. You know, there's so many young calves, and there's so many of them going to fall victim. You know, there's a few that go a little longer, a little less, but the majority of them will be within a 48-hour period. And it's one of nature's way to provide so many offspring at one time to assure that some of them do survive.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a pretty tight time frame. It's just boom, boom, boom in a matter of 4 or 5 days. Most of up to 90% of the calves are already been dropped.
I know you age those, Pat, by their teeth. Explain that to us.
Yeah, the easiest way to age them is by looking at the incisors, which are the front teeth here. And on this particular animal, you can see that she's worn down her enamel, and the dentine, which is the brown part, is now showing through. That means she's about 4 or 5 years old. When she gets to be about 10 or 12, these teeth will be worn down about to the gum line, and then that's about the end of her life.
Just actually wears her teeth out and she no longer eats.
That's right, yeah.
Pat, we're having a lot of success getting animals down, aren't we?
Yeah, this is a good day so far.
We were talking about this animal being a female and probably pregnant. And I've heard you mention that there's no way to tell exactly for sure, but it's a pretty sure chance
There's
this
a
is
real
pregnant.
good chance. 80% of all of these cows, probably even 90% of all these cows are pregnant.
Does the big question that I want to know and everybody else, does the darting hurt the pregnant cows?
No, we've handled animals as close as 2 weeks before birth, before calving time, and we have no problem with pregnancy.
Well, that's good. Let's get those, we about got them wrapped up. You ready to give this girl here an antidote?
We'll get her up and on her way.
Come on, honey. Come on, girl. There's a lot to be said for standing clear when they want to get up here.
Okay, Ron, looks like she's on her way. Now it's your turn.
I was going to try that. You're going to have to tell me about this gun.
Okay, I think you'll be able to handle it.
Tournament-tested technology makes every Daiwa rod and reel a winner. Daiwa.
When anti-hunters plant poison dog food in your favorite hunting spot,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
When they spike your access roads,
You'll say, where's the NRA?
And when they ban your hunting guns, you'll say, where was the NRA?
Join the NRA now to protect your hunting heritage and defeat the anti-hunting agenda.
When they close the seasons in your hunting lands,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
Help protect the hunter's heritage of wildlife conservation. Join the NRA.
Call now and get a year of great magazines, a no-fee Visa card, a Hunter Orange NRA cap, special insurance benefits, plus access to world-class hunter safety and skills training.
You see, when hunting is gone forever, your son won't ask, where was the NRA? He'll ask, where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
So come on, join the NRA now.
It's Orlando Wilson!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a gentleman's sport, where a keen eye and a learned hand can capture the most prized possession.
Magnapin?
Smoothest casting line there is, Bubba. Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
The dart gun uses three very important parts. First off, it's a little .22 rifle charged shell. See, there's no bullet in it, it's just powder. It fits in the back end of the adapter, which the whole thing fits inside the barrel. And when you release the charge, it forces the dart that's sitting inside the barrel out the barrel. You can see that the dart has a barb on the end of it. And Pat, you were saying this is loaded with some very poisonous stuff to humans, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we have to be extremely careful in the plane or in the helicopter. And we're just, once I miss the first shot, I got to reload. And like all gun safety, we're not going to have it loaded or the hammer cocked until we're ready to shoot.
That's exactly right. Something we've got to be careful with here.
But the dart simply goes in first, and then the charge, along with the adapter, just pushes the dart right down into the barrel. And as you get it pushed down in, you're ready to just close it up. When it's time to make the shot, this is just like an old single barrel, single action shotgun. Pull it back, and I'm supposed to ride on the other side of the helicopter with my foot out on this.
That's right. We'll take the door off so you can get a good shot, good view.
I bet it's going to be cold.
It will be cold. One thing too, Ron, the dart has another charge inside of it that on impact, that charge goes off and rams the drug home.
Well, let me unload it. Let's go try it.
Okay. got to land in there, and then you get out, stay in front of the helicopter down low until I get out of the area. Okay? All right.
Ron, that was some fantastic shooting.
Man, it is cold out of that helicopter.
What's it like shooting out of a helicopter?
Coldest I've ever done. My hands absolutely froze. I can't kid you. What we got to do here, Dale, first thing?
Well, all we're going to do on this one is put the collar on it, give it the antidote to the immobilizing drugs, and get him on his way.
It's a male?
Yes, it is.
How old do you think he is?
Well, I don't really know other than it's just an adult. You might be able to tell relatively by just looking at it.
It's a healthy looking animal, isn't it?
Not too old.
Ron, you know, you're one of the probably 100,000 volunteers that help state agencies and federal agencies manage fish and wildlife. And it's all helping the hunter, the wildlife viewer, and those of us that enjoy wildlife. We really appreciate that.
Well, you know, it's a privilege to get an opportunity to do something like this. I know a lot of people watching are very envious of my job, as well they should be, but this is one thing that I've always wanted to do. I've seen it before, you know, like via television. But, and the caribou, you know, there's such, we did a caribou show up in northern Quebec a couple years back, and, you know, their hair right here, no longer than it is, but it's a hollow hair. And they just absolutely can withstand extreme temperatures.
You know, I noticed on one of them back there, you put your hand on the body, and you can't hardly feel the body heat. It's about the same temperature as the air out here. What an insulator.
Frequency, okay?
150.760.
Okay. What's today's? Okay.
Radio number 992.
Okay.
And the, see where they put it, is number 7. We need to put that somewhere on here. Caller number 7.
Okay. And today's date. What is today's date, Mike?
April 3.
Still wintertime. You know, this is quite an interesting deal, Mike. You know, count number, the herd, and all this information will be filled out. And this, once again, is all just part of it to better help manage the herd and track where they go. You know, you got the antlers. There's probably 50 questions on this piece of paper. That's filled in and answered on some of them. Certainly not all of them. They don't answer everything about. This one, we're just going to put the collar on and get him right back up on his feet.
That's right, Ron. You know, and that gives the biologist a lot of information about the animals. What kind of condition they're in, that ties to the food supply or the amount of forage available. You know, caribou eat lichen, and so they get a lot of information out of an animal like this.
Well, I know it was thought, you know, what you said there, eating lichen, and lichen is a form of moss that takes many years to grow. It's on the ground, and a lot of people thought for years that lichen was all caribou would eat. And I was talking to Winston earlier, and he said they had done some tests now with one of those, with this program in particular, where they fed a bunch of caribou just lichen, but it has no protein.
That's right. He said it was just like eating candy.
Yeah, you know, and they can't exist on that. Well, that's you know, that proves a fact that has been totally misunderstood for hundreds of years, and even hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they have recordings of how many caribou there were, and folks that watch my show understand, you know, it's hard to count wildlife. This is about the only way that you can properly get accurate, 100% true data on. You can look at this country, just where they live. You can fly over them with a plane and never see them. You know, it takes training. We got some of the best helicopter pilots and plane pilots working today. While Dale was getting the antidote ready, Dale, will you let me give the antidote to him? Sure. I'd like to do that. I got to dart him. I'll let you hold the paper there, Mike. And I'd like to be hunting, Mike. Come around the corner, getting ready to shoot one, and old number 7 comes out there and looks at you.
Oh, that would be a surprise, wouldn't it?
I'm telling you. Old fella. His horns will probably be 3 foot wide and 3 foot tall this year. You can feel right here on top, it's real soft. That's where the horns start to grow.
Yeah, it won't be long and they'll be ready to sprout a new set of antlers there, won't they?
Yeah, and you know, they grow the antlers when the angle of the sun changes. The light of the sun is what trips the antlers to grow.
Ron, you know, talking about the sun triggering the antlers to grow, sending the signals to the body, it's kind of interesting how the sunshine, the plants, the animals, and the people that live here, we're all kind of tight together in harmony.
I know, we got, you know, coexistence. He's got the antidote ready. Now I need to put this right in a hard muscle, right, or good muscle. Right here, get him right, and that old buddy. There you go.
And it won't be long, he'll be ready to go.
Now I'll get him one more, huh? Well, yeah, we had two drugs mixed together, one to sedate him, one to mobilize him.
They tell me there's, what, 300,000 to 400,000 caribou in this state.
Yeah.
In fact, the second or third largest herd in the world is the Western Arctic caribou herd that's on public lands over in the western part of the state.
Well, this is something that taxpayers' dollars, you know, the BLM land belongs to all taxpayers, and all the hunters, all the money is what's paying for all this operation that's going on
That's
right
right,
now.
Ron.
Don't get me is what you're saying. This is bad, huh?
Don't get you.
Dale was nervous.
It's amazing, Ron, how those hooves are adapted to help these animals survive these harsh winters, walking on ice. The deep snow helps hold them up.
It's so soft on the inside. You know, right here is all soft, and the hair on ice sometimes.
Well, that keeps them from slipping on the ice, Ron.
It does. And now here, you know, they cut through the snow and the Duplo.
At the Mariner test facilities, we run our outboards day and night for weeks at a time, right up to the breaking point.
How's the endurance test going? Seems to be running pretty strong.
At Mariner, we don't just test our outboards, we test the limits. For the Mariner dealer near you, call 1-800-526-6645.
Hurry! Hey, it's Bill Vance. Oh, you want some flossy fishing line? Keeps fish teeth strong and healthy, and some real fin. Keeps bass fit and trim.
5 spools of Strin Super Tough, please.
Super Tough?
Yep, going for a trophy. Done over you.
Strin Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, my chain! What about it? What about my chain?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Woo, what a ride!
Take off with an Astro.
Tournament-tested technology makes every Daiwa rod and reel a winner. Daiwa.
Hi, folks, this is Ron Shear. Wouldn't it be great to just pick up the phone and instantly know the best time and place to fish? Hey, it's not a dream. It's the Keystone Beer Fishing Hotline. Call them, 1-900-407-FISH. Find out today. The animal's up. He's doing fine. Already getting ready to get him something else to eat. I love participating. This is like a dream to participate in those management programs. And this is on Bureau of Land Management land. This is your land. It's public land. This is not a game ranch. This is the wilds. This is Alaska. You can come here and you can hunt and you can fish. Projects like this are funded solely by hunters and fishermen for everyone to enjoy. Hey, thank you for being a hunter and fisherman. Thank you for watching this week. And be sure and watch us next week right here on the Great American Outdoors. And remember, we like to do them like you like to watch them. Bring your kids and show them this great country. Alaska, fun state. We'll see you next week.
The Great American Outdoors with Ron Shear is brought to you by Astro Quickfire F-18, America's hottest performance boat. Mariner Outboards, they're better in the long run. DuPont Stren Fishing Lines. Remington Arms, it's what you're shooting for. This week, the Great American Outdoors takes you on a winter adventure in Alaska. Riding through the scenic beauty of the Alaskan backcountry on snow machines, Ron is joined by Dave Vickery, Public Affairs Chief, BLM Alaska, Mike Dombeck, BLM Washington, Randy Tracy, United States Ranger, BLM, and Eric Yeager, Outdoor Recreation Planner, BLM Alaska. The adventure begins as we travel the Wickersham Creek Trail in the White Mountains National Recreation Area, the heart of Alaska. Stay with us for an outstanding episode of the Great American Outdoors.
America's most northern state, Alaska, in the wintertime. Fun and adventure. We'll be right back.
In the future, state-of-the-art autoloaders will be engineered with red cocking indicators to identify when they're ready to fire. 10-shot magazines for rapid loading. Rear sights adjustable for windage and elevation. Stocks will be synthetic and totally weather-resistant. The autoloaders of the future will be judged against this one. It's the first 22 from the 21st century. Viper. See it at your Remington dealer.
Successful hunters know the average hunting dog may work out up to 3 hours a day on his own. So remember to feed Purina High Pro. The all-year training diet with 28% more protein than the leading dry dog food, plus 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro, because there is no off-season for a hunting dog.
It's Orlando Wilson.
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a gentleman's sport, where a keen eye and a learned hand can capture the most prized possession.
Magna-thin?
Smoothest casting line there is, Bubba. Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
At the Mariner test facilities, we run our outboards day and night for weeks at a time, right up to the breaking point.
How's the endurance test going?
Seems to be running pretty strong.
At Mariner, we don't just test our outboards, we test the limits. For the Mariner dealer near you, call 1-800-526-6645.
Along with my good friend Dave Vickery from Alaska and Mike Dombeck, who's been on the show before, Mike called and asked me if I'd like to come to Alaska in the wintertime. Mike, I tell you what, it's everything that you promised it would be. Is this beautiful country or what?
This is fantastic. What a beautiful day. Who would expect 30-degree weather in the wintertime close to the Arctic Circle?
I know, and the snow was what, 3 foot deep? In places it's 5 foot deep, but just overall, you know, like right here, we're on top of the ridge, we're 6 or 8 inches. This whole show, we're going to be trying to show the multiple use of the BLM. I know your boss, Cy Jameson, is going to be coming in. He is the director of the BLM. He's going to be coming in for a dedication ceremony. What is being dedicated, Mike?
Well, what we have here in the White Mountain National Recreation Area is a series of trails and cabins used by snowmobilers, dog sledders, people that just want to get out by themselves and enjoy the outdoors. And we've got a segment of this trail that's being open to the public tomorrow that Director Jameson will be here to dedicate for us.
Well, you know, the thing that we want to emphasize right here is that this is open to the public. This is all public land, and those cabins, that's like the one you see behind us, are built by the BLM. They have a fee. You register ahead of time, and you pay a fee to stay in this cabin. But trust me, if you were riding through this country, you know, the snowmobile lanes are kept open for the dog sleds and the snowmobiles. But what a great spot to build a cabin. I mean, you know, and this is something that is the multiple use again. This is all this range is open for hunting, is it not?
That's right. You know, Ron, not many people think about hunting, fishing, snowmobiling, dog sledding, cross-country skiing when you think about the public lands. And here you have all this. And we've got 93 million acres here in Alaska, 270 million acres nationwide, and it's open for all sorts of uses, everything from livestock grazing to mining to people out enjoying themselves watching wildlife, hunting, fishing, and all those things Americans cherish so dearly.
Dave, what is your official capacity in Alaska in the BLM?
Ron, I'm Chief of Public Affairs for BLM in Alaska, which means a lot of things, but it means most of all dealing with people who want to come out and have fun and looking for information about Alaska, about being able to recreate out here, where to hunt, where to fish, and to be able to provide that information and talk about this great area and other areas we've got in the state and just make it available.
How does somebody go about getting a hold of all the information on this? Is it a Washington contact or directly your office?
Well, you can contact my office directly, and we'll get you the address for it. And certainly, anytime you want to get a hold of the Washington office, they can get requests out to us, and then we'll give you the address of our district office. From an organizational standpoint, we have 5 districts that manage the 93 million acres we take care of up here in Alaska. And we can get those local addresses to people that might want to think about making a trip up this way. We'd love to see them.
The Bureau of Land Management, or BLM as most people call it, traces its roots back to 1812 when Congress established the General Land Office to administer the public domain. Of the 1.8 billion acres of public land originally acquired by the United States, 2/3 went to individuals, industries, and the states. The rest was set aside for national parks, wildlife refuges, national forests, and other public purposes. Today, the BLM administers 1/8 of this country's lands, about 270 million acres. The BLM also manages the mineral estate underlying another 300 million acres. Our lands are located primarily in the western states and Alaska. Our management, as directed by Congress with the passage of the Federal Land Policy and Management Act of 1976, is based on the principle of multiple use. Multiple use basically means administering the public lands and resources for a combination of uses that best serve the increasing needs of the American people. We are striving for a balance of renewable and non-renewable resources among competing uses and users. There are more than 92 million acres of BLM-managed public lands open to general recreation in Alaska. The White Mountains National Recreation Area covers 1 million acres of land and includes over 200 miles of maintained winter trails for snow machines, dog sleds, and cross-country skiers. The ruggedness of the White Mountains require much planning and preparation. Warm winter clothing for minus 20 degrees and colder temperatures are a must, as are the special Arctic boots, which are not just for keeping your feet warm. The wide sole also helps when walking through waist-deep snow. Each snow machine is outfitted with enough food, fresh water, fuel, and first aid gear to supply Ron and the crew through any situation on the trail that may delay the journey to their cabin. Riding these snow machines requires a lot of skill and caution to cross the overflows above the frozen streams and driving through the deep snow along the side of the packed trails. Overflows are patches of ice that form on top of the snow and ice above a stream. If you're not careful during a crossing, one of these 1,000-pound machines can get scary fast. The trip from the trailhead to Windy Gap Cabin, where we will camp out, is about 43 miles cross-country. The trail itself takes you through areas of a pristine wilderness.
The past 25 years have been the golden age of bass fishing, thanks largely to Ray Scott and his vision of the Bass Angler Sportsman Society.
Larry's right. Now you can share in all the tips, the techniques, and the know-how bass fishing pros mastered in those golden years when you joined Bass.
As a member, 25 years of bass angling expertise are yours in the pages of Bassmaster magazine. 10 big issues a year will show you how to reel in the big ones. Plus, you'll stay up to date on the latest fish catching technology.
And don't forget the boat theft reward protection, fishing information service, and other member benefits, Ken. So,
if you're serious about bass fishing,
and we know you are,
you belong in BASS.
So just do it. Join now.
Call 1-800-336-2100 to join Bass and get your free 25th anniversary tackle pack with Berkley's Power Lizard, Bill Norman's Deep Baby, and Berkley's Ultra Thin Line and a Bass Spinnerbait. With your $15 paid membership, you'll also receive 10 issues of Bassmaster magazine and your membership pack. That's 1-800-336-2100.
when anti-hunters plant poison dog food in your favorite hunting spot,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
when they spike your access roads, you'll say, where's the NRA? And when they ban your hunting guns, you'll say, where was the NRA?
Join the NRA now to protect your hunting heritage and defeat the anti-hunting agenda.
When they close the seasons in your hunting lands,
you'll say, where's the NRA?
Help protect the hunter's heritage of wildlife conservation. Join the NRA.
Call now and get a year of great magazines, a no-fee Visa card, a Hunter Orange NRA cap, special insurance benefits, plus access to world-class hunter safety and skills training.
You see, when hunting is gone forever, your son won't ask, where was the NRA? He'll ask, where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you? Where were you?
So come on, join the NRA now.
Riding along the trail provides one with views as diverse as looking down over a 50-square-mile valley from the top of a mountain peak, as well as places looking straight up the side of a limestone wall to the peak. Traveling through the trails, you see evidence of big game animals, such as this fresh set of tracks in the snow that Ron and Eric discovered.
Another one of the great things about the high country here in Alaska, you know, as you go down the snowmobile trails, you see a lot of moose tracks and wolves and everything else. Right here, we're right on this creek. The moose come down here, don't they, Eric, just to eat?
They run the creek beds to feed because that's where you see all the alders and willows, and they eat the buds off these.
There you can see right here, they've eat the buds right off this one. Just nipped them off, and you said earlier, looking at the tracks, of course you live here, this is probably yesterday.
Yeah, probably so.
Look at this one over here. Now this is just much like white-tailed deer do. Old moose will take his horns and break this over just so he can get to the buds, and I guess a lot of times they'll do that so the young ones can eat too.
Yeah, maybe so. Huh?
Break it over.
Yeah, as you come through here, sometimes during the winter it looks like a helicopter came through upside down and just sheared everything off in a flat plane.
What elevation are we right now?
I would guess that we're about 2,400 feet.
Do they range much to the moose here? I mean, do they go up in the mountains and come back down, or?
I think as the snow gets deeper and deeper, they start working their way down and closer to the creek beds and out towards Beaver Creek, which is a little closer to 2,000 foot elevation, 1,800.
You know, I would feel like that they would do it just opposite. You know, you'd think the low areas down in the valley would catch more snow, but I guess that's not true.
Well, in some of these areas where you're above tree line, yeah, it's wind blown, and for sheep and caribou and stuff, they may stay up a little higher so they can get to the lichens. And the moose tend to just drop down to the creek beds because the snow's a little deeper. They got all the willow bushes right along the beds. And,
well, the moose foot is really, you can tell by looking at those tracks right here. We'll get over and get a real close-up shot of the track that, you know, the big old pad foot that a moose has enables them. That's how they can survive and walk in all this snow and deep snow. And they can go through snow. A lot of this snow you've seen us off in the show, you know, it's like this deep. You know, it's a good test for the Remington gear that I'm wearing. I tell you what, the extreme weather clothes work, I'll tell you. And, you know, but a moose, he can just wander around, just go right through that situation because of the kind of foot that he has, and nature has provided well for him. And it's certainly quite an experience to come to Alaska in the wintertime. Let's go on down the trail.
After arriving at the Windy Gap cabin, Ron, Dave, Mike, Randy, and Eric set up camp in this spacious 12 by 16 log cabin. In addition to Windy Gap, there are 8 other cabins maintained by the BLM, available for use by the people who are using the trails. The cabins are made of Alaskan white spruce and include wood stoves, cooking areas, wooden bunks and mattresses, as well as a lantern, saw, and axe for firewood. Each cabin also has its only truly unique panoramic view of the White Mountains, Limestone Jags, Wickersham Dome, and Mount McKinley. On the next day, Ron and the men from the BLM rode up the trail to look at the view from the Caribou Cliff Cabin above Beaver Creek. Leaving Caribou Bluff and venturing down the Fossil Cap Trail to Beaver Creek, Ron met with BLM fishery biologist Brian Lebinsky and BLM volunteer Tim DuPont. Brian and Tim are working to determine the wintering habits of Arctic grayling.
What we're doing now is we're looking at different areas that are important to the fish species in Beaver Creek, and this involves sampling the fish populations. Right now in this area here is an open water lead that we've identified as important to the fish in Beaver Creek, and we've set some traps to sample the fish populations, determine what species are here, and what size ranges and age classes are in this particular habitat.
Well, Mike, I would think that the wintertime would be the hardest on the fish, and I know one of BLM's concerns is making sure that the fish survive the winters.
That's right, Ron. You know, here in Alaska, there's some of the best fishing in the world. And thanks to the work of people like Brian, we want to keep it that way.
Well, you know, is it basically then you have the fishery biologists come out here along with the traps and all the instruments that they use to check, and is it a way to improve the habitat? What is going to be the main emphasis? I know there's lots of visitors that come every year to this, and a lot of people will walk up through here this winter or this summer fishing. You know, is it to improve the habitat, or?
Well, it's that. First of all, you know, we have to know what's up here. Secondly, we've got to manage the habitat so those fish survive. And third, we've got to let people know what kind of fish are here, so when they come here to have a good time, we can tell them.
Well, one thing that people would have to remember is this is the closest thing, folks, to virgin water. I mean, you know, nobody hardly ever fishes it, and yet, you know, it's certainly a good foot forward for the BLM people to be here controlling it, making sure that the fishing is good, the fish have been taken care of, and I'm looking forward to getting on down and checking the traps and see, now if we got fish in the traps, what are we going to do to them?
Well, we have a couple of radio transmitters we're using to implant into grayling and determine where they spend their time.
Arriving by helicopter, former BLM Director Cy Jameson landed at Beaver Creek to meet Ron and go to dedicate the opening of the final trail segment in the White Mountains and take a trip on dog sled.
Winston, quite a dog sled team you have here. Probably the oldest means of transportation, or certainly one of them in Alaska in the far north country, is dog sleds. With John and Winston here, we're going to have an opportunity today to ride some dog sleds, and I really look forward to it, Winston. Give me a quick rundown about a dog sled team.
Oh, basically for a team, you need a minimum of really only 2 dogs that'll go where you tell them. You know, that'll respond to some commands. Of course, the more dogs you get, the more power you have, and generally the further you can go.
What is the range of a team like this? Y'all running 10 dogs apiece?
Yeah, it's virtually unlimited. We could cruise along 50, 60 miles a day without too much trouble. The Iditarod, a long-distance sled dog race we have here in Alaska, it's about 1,100 miles, and they average roughly 100 miles a day in that race.
How many hours is that?
They normally run 4 hours on, 4 hours off, and alternate. There's a lot of variations to that theme, but that's a basic scheme.
John, would you give me a little ride down through here for a little ways?
I'd love to give you a ride.
I'll get the hook, okay? You ready? This is like drag racing. Good luck, Ron.
All right, let's go.
Around here.
Let's go. Come on. Come on.
All right, let's stop him here. We'll be right back. Sal will join us in a minute.
Hurry! Hey, it's Bill Dance. Oh, you want some flossy fishing line? Keeps fish teeth strong and healthy. And some real fin. Keeps bass fit and trim.
5 spools of Strin Super Tough, please.
Super Tough?
Yep, going for a trophy. I know you.
Strin Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, my chain! What about my chain?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Woo, what a ride.
Take off with an Astro.
In the future, state-of-the-art autoloaders will be engineered with red cocking indicators to identify when they're ready to fire. 10-shot magazines for rapid loading. Rear sights adjustable for windage and elevation. Stocks will be synthetic and totally weather-resistant. The autoloaders of the future will be judged against this one. It's the first 22 from the 21st century. See it at your Remington dealer.
Successful hunters know the average hunting dog may work out up to 3 hours a day on his own. So remember to feed Purina High Pro. The all-year training diet with 28% more protein than the leading dry dog food, plus 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro, because there is no off-season for a hunting dog.
Hi folks, this is Ron Shear. Wouldn't it be great to just pick up the phone and instantly know the best time and place to fish? Hey, it's not a dream. It's the Keystone Beer Fishing Hotline. Call them, 1-900-407-FISH. Find out today. Si's quite a ride on a dog sled, wasn't it?
Oh, that's terrific. I tell you what, I didn't think 10 little dogs could do that much. You know, look at me, I'm no small gentleman.
Well, I'm not either. And you know, the power that they got, can you believe that?
Yeah, and we had 2 dog teams. You had one that's basically a recreational dog team, and the one I was on was a kind of a short distance race team. It was really something, wasn't it?
People get into it. You know, that's something, as we look here behind us in the White Mountains and the markers are in place, and we've got to get down there and dedicate that marker. That's obviously why we're all here, and the thing I wanted to do was to share with our viewers every week exactly what the BLM is doing. You know, it's a multiple use. Has been one of the songs that you've been singing for many, many years, and you know, tell us about the multiple use of the BLM.
Well, what we do is we have what I call the new BLM. We used to be all associated with just livestock grazing, mining, and oil and gas, and now we're really truly multiple use. We're riding dog sleds. That was and we're doing recreation, and that's not the only type of recreation we have. We have good wildlife programs, good recreation programs, cultural resources programs. That's what really multiple use is all about, putting all those together. And we're just participating in one. You can hear the dogs in the background probably, and these fellas like it up here.
And this is also an area, Mike, we were talking about earlier. This is open for hunting, is it not?
That's right. Some of the best hunting in the world is right here in Alaska.
Well, we've seen moose, caribou, wolves, all types of hunting, and it's all public land. We keep trying to emphasize that. We've got to get on down here because, as you can imagine, it's dead in the middle of wintertime right here. Cameras are freezing up. We're all cold. I'm going to take Si's toboggan. Let's get on down here. This is supposedly the last marker, one of the last ones anyway, that was put up. It's all ready.
And these dogs don't like to sit around up here on a pass where it's windy. They like to move.
Those dogs are set on go, aren't they?
They're set on go. Let's go.
All right, let's get in. Here, and it's the last mile markers are in place. Si, it's the dedication of the opening of the trail. Tell us about it.
Well, this is the White Mountain National Recreation Area, the only one managed by the Bureau of Land Management in the whole United States of America. This whole area, as you see by this trail marker, is open to winter recreation. We have a series of cabins that go completely in a big circle.
We've been staying in them.
You've been staying in them. It's a great time. And what we do is we've opened this area to all types of recreation. What we're doing right now is we're on dog sleds, snowmobiles, foot traffic, whatever, in the winter. We're 100 miles approximately below the Arctic Circle. And what this is this is a winter wonderland of recreation. It's for all Americans. And what we want to do is have a little bit for everybody. And I think this place does it. We're in here in the winter. You come back in the summer, Ron, and we'll do the same thing, but do it on foot trail or with ATVs. It's a place where I think we can manage both.
Well, you should take a lot of personal gratification as well as gratification for the Bureau of Land Management, because you were very instrumental in getting this whole plan put together. It's open, and the most important thing is, like we talked a couple of years ago when you first started with the BLM, running it anyway, was a multiple use in it. This is open for everybody. It's public land, and everybody's invited up. Si, thanks for coming up, buddy. I'll take my glove off. It's awful cold, but we'll get it.
It's cold and our faces are red, but it's great.
And Ed, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Enjoyed your state.
Don't get to say.
Take care, Ron. Thank you for coming.
And you come on, as they say, come back see us sometime.
Well, we'll do it. And y'all be sure and catch us next week. Remember, we like to do them like you like to watch them. And can you believe riding a dog sled out of those mountains? This is beautiful country. Try to get up here. We'll see you next week.
The Great American Outdoors with Ron Shear is brought to you by Astro Quickfire F-18, America's hottest performance boat. Mariner Outboards, they're better in the long run. DuPont Stren Fishing Lines. Remington Arms, it's what you're shooting for. And Daiwa USA. This week, the Great American Outdoors brings you the Congressional Shooting Championship held at Remington Farms in Chestertown, Maryland. Ron is joined by Neil Aldridge as they make their way around the Sporting Clays course and shoot with members of Congress and the outdoor industry. Stay with us for an exciting show.
Hi, thanks for joining me this week. We've got a truly great show. It's different. We'll be right back to discuss some of the futures of conservation with all the industry, congressmen, everybody having fun with shooting games. We'll be right back.
It's Roland Martin!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a delicate balance of talent, patience, and dexterity.
Magnum? It's the best in heavy cover.
Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Most of the time, big game hunting often comes down to just one shot. I want to make sure it's my best shot, so I've started using something new. Remington's extended range rifle ammunition. It's computer designed for flatter trajectories, greater velocity, and maximum energy. So how does it perform? Let me tell you, I've tested Remington extended range ammo again and again. There's no doubt what I'll be hunting with. New Remington extended range.
When anti-hunters plant poison dog food in your favorite hunting spot,
You'll say, where's the NRA?
when they spike your access roads, you'll say, where's the NRA? And when they ban your hunting guns, you'll say, where was the NRA?
Join the NRA now to protect your hunting heritage and defeat the anti-hunting agenda.
When they close the seasons in your hunting lands,
You'll say, where's the NRA?
help protect the hunter's heritage of wildlife conservation. Join the NRA.
Call now and get a year of great magazines, a no-fee Visa card, a Hunter Orange NRA cap, special insurance benefits, plus access to world-class hunter safety and skills training.
You see, when hunting is gone forever, your son won't ask, where was the NRA? He'll ask, where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you? Where were you?
So come on, join the NRA now.
Join us first off is our friend Neil Aldridge, head of DuPont Sporting Goods in the sales division. Neil, tell us about this wonderful event. I've never heard of anything like this. We have people from Washington, D.C. and all over the country here at the beautiful Remington Farms.
Ron, it's kind of neat. Most sportsmen don't recognize that our government, whether it's state or federal, really have stewardship over hundreds of millions of acres of property that we hunt, that we fish on. The purpose of the meeting today is to get government, conservation, and industry leaders together to plan for our future, to plan multiple use activities, and to make sure that our public lands are available for us, the public, to hunt or to fish or just enjoy. And that's what we're doing here.
And we cannot have a meeting of this magnitude at Remington Farms without being able to get out and enjoy some of the great products that we make and enjoy some shooting. And today we're going to be trying out a new Sporting Clays gun that's just recently you brought on the market through Remington, and it's going to be a fun time. You know, to see those people being users, that's the key to it, isn't it?
Well, the real meat of the meeting is to demonstrate to everyone that shooting is fun and shooting is good and good, clean family recreation, and we're going to be doing that today, and I sure hope I beat you.
Well, give me a break, Neil. We've had a lot of fun shooting before, but, you know, there's a lot of T-shirts that the people wearing. There's America's Outdoors Fun. That's the deal. It's fun. And that's what this show is all about. Let's go get started.
I'm ready. Thanks, Ron.
For those of you not familiar with this gun, this is a model 1187. We stress safety here at all times on the range. We prefer to see the muzzle either in the air or pointed down range at all times, whether the gun is loaded or unloaded. To load this gun, all you have to do is drop a shell in with the brass part back in the opening here. Keep your fingers clear. You don't have to turn the gun upside down or anything to get the shell up in the barrel. All you have to do is drop it in, hit this silver button right here on the bottom. You hit that silver button on the bottom, it's ready to go. At this shooting game, the most shells we're going to load at one time is going to be 2. So if you have one in a chamber like that, and then to load an additional shell, you have to load it on the bottom here. You have to hit this silver button. If you don't hit that silver button, it will not release. So you just hit the silver button, follow up in until it catches, it's ready to go. The safety is located here behind the trigger. As you can see, this trigger is gold. But the safety is right here, it's this button. If you push it through from right to left and you can see the red, it's ready to fire. We like to see the safety on at all times until you're in the cage and you're ready to shoot and you're loaded. When the gun comes to your shoulder, and push the safety off.
Pull! 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 Pull!
Yeah, now you're on.
Your turn, Joe.
Oh!
Good bird! Off bird!
Not too bad.
All right.
Bullard! Uh-oh. Now another pair. Trapper ready! Bullard! Uh-oh. I didn't set an example for us. We're here today with Senator Conrad Burns, one of the really great senators in the western state of Montana. Conrad, how long have you been shooting?
Well, I've been fiddling around with these shotguns, I guess, all of my life. You know, I was raised on a small farm down in Missouri and of course, moved to Montana in the early 50s for the first time, then got back there permanent in the 60s, but I guess I've been hunting birds, and I've not done too much clay shooting.
Oh, I noticed that on that last station.
Yeah, I know.
I helped you out.
I was embarrassing to the Remington folks, but we'll get better as the day goes on.
Well, you did great. It's really great to have you with us today. Conrad's been instrumental in the Congressional Sportsman's Caucus and represents the chairman in the Senate. Is that right, Conrad?
That's exactly right. And we formed that caucus because there's some sportsman's issues that are coming up that we think are very important to the conservation of wildlife in this country, and we're getting bigger all the time. More members are joining all the time, and it's just to tell the story of conservation and how important wildlife is to this country, and how important the sportsmen are to those goals.
Well, the Sportsman's Caucus has been very important to you and me as hunters and fishermen, and we can thank folks like Senator Burns and his friends on the Hill that help us to protect our right to access our public lands. And we're having a great day. Let's go get some more of those targets.
I tell you what, I'd like to hit just one.
Oh, just one. Here we go. Thank you. Thanks, guys. When I grew up, we never wasted target shells or shotgun shells on something you couldn't eat.
Oh. There you go. Tough target. Tough target.
Both were hits, weren't they, Ben?
I'm not making that call. You're
40%.
You're the caller on that. They're the pair.
Do believe.
We're the leading team so far.
Now it's a pair. You got all kinds of time to shoot that rabbit. Take the gun back quick, but you don't have to take the gun all the way back. Look back quick.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to turn it loose till you shoot.
Gotcha.
Then you want to pick that target up as soon as you can.
Gotcha. So the rabbit first.
Rabbit, you got plenty of time on the rabbit. Same deal. Whoa. There you go.
Another one of our guests for the event today is David Rockland. David lives in Washington, D.C. and chairs the Times Mirror Conservation Council. David, tell our viewers a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure, Neil. Times Mirror Magazine publishes a whole slew of outdoor publications. We own Field and Stream and Outdoor Life, Saltwater Sportsman, Golf Magazine, and every month about 30 million people read those publications. What we've been working on is trying to get our 30 million readers involved in conservation issues. We give them an editorial that tells them how to get actively involved in things like wetlands protection and public lands management.
David's been very actively involved in a couple of initiatives that are of very great importance to us as hunters and fishermen. And David, I'm proud to say that at least one of those was hatched right here at Remington Farms.
Well, Neil, it was really due, in fact, to your leadership that the program called Enjoy Outdoors America has been hatched at the Department of the Interior. Traditionally, the 440 million acres that the Interior Department manages has been managed with a primary emphasis toward things like mining and timber production and grazing. And this year with Secretary Lujan out here on a hunting trip with Neil and myself, we began talking about how those 440 million acres can also be managed for hunting and fishing. And it's really gone well. There's a super Enjoy Outdoors America program that includes a fishing initiative, a hunting initiative, even a golf course initiative.
David, you and I let Senator Burns down on that last station. We're in a hot competition here. Let's go see how we can do.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
What you're trying to do is to make the shot and the target have a wreck. Okay, so it's a paintbrush. Now it becomes a paintbrush, and the key to being the paintbrush is making the full stroke. Mount the gun properly. Don't just throw the gun to your shoulder like this. The first thing you want to do is to stick the gun out, set it back on your shoulder, and then lay your head down. And just about all guns manufactured, certainly this new sporting clays gun, but almost all guns manufactured, if you will mount them properly, extend your arms and set it back.
It's right inside.
It's right where it needs to be. So then it becomes the paintbrush. It's right, and if you're going to shoot the target here, don't just go bang and stop. That's what I did on this last station.
A hunting dog burns up to 2,000 calories a day. So if you want performance, don't feed cheap dog food. Feed the one with 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro. For birds, not excuses.
The Fishing Hotline, 1-900-370-FENS, a new service which allows you to find the best times to fish or hunt from now through the end of the year. Also updated local reports for different kinds of fish from nearby fishing holes. Plus fishing and outdoor tips from pros like Orlando Wilson, Roland Martin, Tom Mann, the Bass Professor Doug Hannon, and Ron Scherer. The number is 1-900-370-FINS, and it's just 95 cents a minute. That's 1-900-370-FINS.
It's Orlando Wilson!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a gentleman's sport, where a keen eye and a learned hand can capture the most prized possession.
Magnet in?
Smoothest casting line there is, Bubba.
Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, there's a box!
Tournament-tested technology makes every Daiwa rod and reel a winner. Daiwa.
I was able to catch Senator Conrad Burns from Montana. Senator, I've spent a lot of mighty fine hunting hours in your state, and I enjoy it. You had an interesting comment about shooting the sports plays. Kind of like riding a horse.
Yeah, well, I tell you, all at once they come out and they'll say, they'll come out and it says, no bird, or shoot over.
Right.
I said, it's kind of like riding the dirtiest bronc in the world. The worst thing you can say to a guy is re-ride when you didn't want on him the first time.
It's a fun game, isn't it?
It's a wonderful day, and I enjoy this very much. You know, a year ago last fall, I got shot, hunting pheasant, and up in Montana, down on Pass Creek, down in Bighorn County. And I guess I would put in a little plug for we learn a lot of things out here. One of them is shooter safety, and the other one is that with our work with the Sportsman's Caucus in the United States Senate, is that we've got a a lot of educating to do on just how important the sportsmen are to this thing called conservation and the perpetuation of our wildlife.
Everybody's starting to realize the true sportsmen, the people that are in the field, are the key to helping us protect the environment and manage the animals.
That's exactly right, and it does take conservation management, and I think we're winning on the issue.
I do too. You see it changing every day, just better and better.
We sure do.
Well, thanks for your support, and good luck on the rest of those stations, and stay off those bad broncs, okay?
Stay off the bad broncs.
I've got to go shoot this one. Went over a while ago, you know, I just didn't do so good. We don't need to talk about it. Hold it. I want to take time out just a minute and talk with the Secretary from the Department of Interior, Manuel Lujan. Manuel, I know you have a program called Enjoy Outdoors America. Tell our viewers what that's all about.
Well, you know, all of the public lands belong to all of the people of this country, and so we try to bring in multiple use for everybody to use them. Hunting is one of the areas where we have enjoying the outdoors, fishing, all of the different things that you can use the outdoors for.
That's a wonderful opportunity that we have with George Bush being president, and this is, you know, an extension, I think, of his views on multiple use. You know, no more is like Cy Jamison with the BLM, Bureau of Land Management. You know, it's not just mining and things like this. It is recreation and outdoors.
Absolutely. And that's the mandate that the president gave me, you know, to bring balance to everything. You don't just do one thing with the public lands. You do all kinds of things so that all people can enjoy them.
And it's one of the first times that the sportsman's has actually been heard. We have a voice there now, and we want to thank you very much for it, and I'm enjoying shooting with you today.
Okay,
I tell you.
Ron, I did too. I really have enjoyed it.
Let's go just get all of them this next station.
Let's go do that.
All right.
Okay.
Dick, it's a real pleasure to welcome Congressman Dick Schultz here to Remington Farms today. Not only is Dick my own personal representative, but he is the chairman on the congressional side for the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus and has done an awful lot for us in the outdoor recreation industry. Dick, you having a good time?
Neil, this has been one of the most pleasurable occasions that I've had in a long time.
I watched you shoot that last station. You looked pretty good on some of those birds.
Well, I think the one that I got was luck.
Well, it's nice to have you with us, Dick.
Thank you, Neil. What could be better than to enjoy the outdoors? Look at these gorgeous little dogwoods bursting forth, and spring is here, and whether you hit them or not, it's just a joy being in the great outdoors.
It's time to be out shooting. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you, Neil.
Pull it!
Dead.
Pull it!
Dead, dead.
Pull it!
Dead, dead.
Very nice shooting.
Thank you.
That's the second straight we've had. Second one we've had. Who's next? You guys shoot some.
Secretary.
Who can follow that?
This big one.
Yeah, that's the one that's ready.
Pointing clay.
You have plenty of time. Just, here's the paintbrush. Here's old stroke. Okay?
I want to issue a very special welcome to our viewers and to Cy Jamison, who is director of the Bureau of Land Management. Cy's not only a very good personal friend of mine, but a very good friend of all of us who enjoy the outdoors. Since Cy's had the Bureau of Land Management, we've had more success, more cooperation and access and other things that hunters and fishermen like than we've ever had before. Cy, what do you attribute all that success to?
Well, I think President Bush told us all to do it, to put in some balance. That's what we're trying to do at the BLM. Is there's enough room for everybody out there in the public lands. We have about 1/8 of the United States of America, 270 million acres. They're your acres. And so what we want to do is have the balance between commodity use and wildlife and recreation and cultural uses. And I think we're reaching that goal now, with help from a lot of private companies like yours and others. And as we're here today at the first annual Congressional Shooting Tournament.
So.
This word's going to get around about this, Neil. These guys are having a great time out here, and I think we're going to make something really happen here. And it's going to build that bond stronger between Capitol Hill, the private industry, and the federal agencies.
And shooting is fun, isn't it?
It's fun if you hit something. Now, I haven't hit enough of that stuff yet, but I'm doing better.
Cy, could you give us just a little bit on the Fish and Wildlife 2000 initiative that you have going in the Bureau?
Yes. What we try to do is lay out the plans for the public lands to take us through the turn of the century. And we have is very active programs on habitat protection, threatened and endangered species, upland game, and the regular game animals. And we have a plan for each one of those to try to maximize the opportunities for those units. And what I think we need to do more of is team up, because you really can't have a total habitat plan unless you have cooperation from the private sector too. And because fish and wildlife resources don't all just occur on public lands, they occur on private lands as well, and sometimes the best habitat's on private lands. So we have to have that partnership, and that's what we really need to keep after. But also one important thing, as you mentioned in your opening remarks there, is that we need to have the access so you and I can legally go and reach these lands. And we have to do it in a careful and thoughtful manner, but that's where we have to head with these programs. And Fish and Wildlife 2000 is a program that tells Congress where we're going, tells you where we're going, and tells our friends, here, if you help us on these, here's the goal at the end, here's what we're after.
Well, Si, I certainly, on behalf of all the folks that enjoy the great outdoors, want to thank you and the Bureau for the good work you're doing. Good to have you with us.
Partner, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thanks, Si. Si Jamison.
Moment of truth.
We had a lot of fun, didn't we?
We did have a lot of fun.
I think all of us together, 93?
Yep, that's what I had it up to.
All right. Good deal.
What'd you get, 34?
We
were the number
3 team.
For what?
We were number 3.
We're number 3 team?
Out of 9.
Is that right?
Congratulations. Congratulations. I got to find out what Neil did, though. Don't tell me. I don't want to know till I see him.
At the Mariner test facilities, we run our outboards day and night for weeks at a time, right up to the breaking point.
How's the endurance test going? Seems to be running pretty strong.
At Mariner, we don't just test our outboards, we test the limits. For the Mariner dealer near you, call 1-800-526-6645.
Hurry! Hey, it's Bill Dance. Oh, you want some flossy fishing line? Keeps fish teeth strong and healthy, and some real fin. Keeps bass fit and trim.
5 spools of Strin Super Tough, please.
Super Tough?
Yep, going for a trophy. I know you.
Strin Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, my chain! What about it? What about the chain?
Tournament-tested technology makes every Daiwa rod and reel a winner. Daiwa.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Woo, what a ride.
Take off with an Astro.
Hi, folks, this is Ron Shear. Wouldn't it be great to just pick up the phone and instantly know the best time and place to fish? Hey, it's not a dream. It's the Keystone Beer Fishing Hotline. Call them, 1-900-407-FISH. Find out today.
One of our distinguished guests today, Ron, is Harry Knight, chairman of the board for Ducks Unlimited.
Harry, certainly nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. What a special day.
It is, isn't it not? And I know Ducks Unlimited has been very involved over the many, many years. I've been a sponsor of DU for many years myself personally, and you know, it's a pleasure to see you out here involved personally.
Well, I tell you, of our 550,000 members, I just happen to be lucky enough to be the chairman of the board and get to do some of these things. But the opportunity to be with the folks from the BLM and also from Interior, it's just really a special time for us.
It's a special day, and it's very important to sportsmen, not only to duck hunters, but
You
to
bet.
all sportsmen and
You
all
bet.
people that enjoy the outdoors.
You know, the opportunity to put government agencies and private agencies, private companies like our good friends here, I'm always needling Neil because every now and then we bump into each other and he outshoots me or he outfishes me, whatever. But other than that, he's a nice guy.
I know, he's good to do it. Well, just certainly glad you could make it today, and we appreciate you being on the show with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
You bet.
Good to have you with us.
You bet.
Well, Neil, we've absolutely had a wonderful day. We have a picnic to finish it up, and I know from the scores, you know, that dinner will be on you tonight.
Ron, it'll be my pleasure to take you and a couple other folks to dinner tonight, and I'm proud of it.
Well, haven't we had a great day? Isn't this very important for the sportsmen that watch the show and just sportsmen everywhere that even not watch it?
You know what it is, Ron? It's the liaison from folks like you and I as hunters and shooters with the government and the industry folks that really are the stewards of the resource that we enjoy when we go outdoors. And it's places like this that very important business is done, and we had a good time doing it.
You're absolutely right, and it makes me just feel wonderful to know that the future for our children has something bright to look forward to. You know, the people that are here that participated today are the people that write the policies that take care of the future, and believe me, people, it's on the right track. Sportsmen have never been better represented. You're seeing change, and be sure and catch us next week right here on the Great American Outdoors. Remember, we like to do them like you like to watch them, and if you're not smiling after this show to know we got this kind of help in Washington, I promise you it's going to be good. We'll see you next week.